Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Remember, we talk all things engineering, technology, and finance. And in this week, in Engineer's Corner, we're going to talk about my story and why this channel exists. But as you notice, we're not in the usual office right now. We are outside, hanging out in this beautiful park with the beautiful animals. But I figured we take this walk out here, have this conversation as to what my story is, why the channel exists, and what I hope for you going forward. So stick around. Remember, there's a lot of value that's going to be given, so don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to share with friends and family, because we don't want to hoard the information for ourselves, right? We want everybody to be successful. So let's get into what the story is about. Let's talk a little bit about how I became an engineer, what the path was for me. The story is I basically go to college. I rack up a bunch of student loans debt to the tune of $225,000. I was able to overcome that debt and pay off the $225,000 and a lot more. So a total of $360,000 when you combine all the other debts. And we did that in a matter of 5 years. It first starts off in high school. I had pretty much no aspirations to go to college. So I had this professor. He basically encouraged me. He said, "Hey Lewis, I see that you're good at electronics," because I was in one of his electronics courses. He said, "You're good at electronics. I think you should go to college to become an engineer." By the time he told me this, I was getting ready to graduate. I probably had 4 months left. And I didn't even know what an engineer was. And so here he was trying to convince me to become one. And I didn't even know what that was to begin with. So ultimately, he convinces me to go to college and pursue this path of engineering. I started applying for colleges really late. Didn't really have a game plan, but ended up applying, ended up going to college. I went into undergrad. And the thing is about undergrad is I had a real good time while I was there. So what do I mean by that? I mean, of course, I was hanging out, I was partying, I didn't really study so much, just had a really, really good time while I was in undergrad, and thinking that, it was interesting. I had one of the most weirdest and dumbest ideas. I thought that, college was something where you go, you show up, you pay for the piece of paper, you get out, and that's what you are, right? You become an engineer when you pay for it, right? And didn't even realize that there's a lot of work that goes into that. I don't know why, for what reason, but that's just what I was thinking of. And it was quite stupid at the time. Here I was partying, have a great time. I was getting ready to graduate college. And keep in mind, this whole entire time while I went to college, I was paying with it 100% with student loans. I barely got any scholarships. I financed 100% of it. I had owed about $120,000 by the time I was getting ready to graduate. And so the weight of that amount of money, actually, I quickly got to work in, okay, I need a career now. I need to start making some money and translating this degree into dollars, because obviously I needed a way to pay back the $120,000. It got to the point where I started interviewing with many companies. And a lot of the feedback that I was getting is, what did I learn in 4 years? Because I was kind of clueless when it came to my interviews. I had the bright idea that if I can't get a job, that I would go back to school again and learn what I should have learned. Not knowing that, of course, you need your undergrad work to build for your master's. So here I was, I applied to a different school, and I ended up getting into a school in New York to pursue my first master's. And at the time, of course, you guessed it right, I was paying for it with student loans because I didn't have any money at the time. And one of the things that I'll let you know, in case you don't know, is when you go into your master's program, you need to maintain a 3.0 in order to stay in the program. Most masters have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. And in my particular case, I didn't get a 3.0 the first semester, and I didn't get it in the second semester. So I had to sign a letter of academic probation and disqualification, meaning that if I didn't get my grades up above a 3.0, because of course I was struggling because I didn't have the knowledge from undergrad in order to be able to be successful in my graduate work. So this piece of paper that I signed basically said that if I didn't get a 3.0 in the next semester, that I would basically forfeit from the university, wasn't allowed to come back, and I lost all the money that I've invested thus far. So if you're keeping track, it was 120 coming out of undergrad. By the time I got to that piece of paper where I already did 2 semesters and I was getting ready to go into my third, I had invested an additional $20,000 at that point in student loans. So if you're doing the math with me, right, by the time I signed that piece of paper, I owed $140,000. I'm at a point in my life where I have to decide now, what am I going to do? Am I going to roll up my sleeves and actually do the work and be successful at this thing that I said that I wanted to do? Or was I just going to continue with my same habits and do nothing and blame other people for my problems? And that's when I had a heart-to-heart with my then girlfriend, who's now my wife. You know, I had told her kind of, hey, I'm getting ready to be disqualified. I'm failing in my courses. What do you think I should do? And the advice she gave me was, you know, you got yourself into this mess. Now you got to get yourself out. And I'll be here to cheer you along the way in the decision you make. And hopefully it's get yourself out. And so that's what I decided to do. I decided to work very, very hard at that point in my life. And that translated into 15-hour days at school. So I had to relearn my undergrad and also as well my graduate work. Hence why 15 hours a day at school. So what that allowed me to do at that point was it allowed me to have the necessary knowledge that I needed in order to finish the degree. So I was able to graduate with a 3.0, actually 3.1. But the other piece of the puzzle, the negative part, was because I was so far into it, it was to the point now where, you know, I couldn't be stuck without understanding what it's like to be an engineer and being able to get a position in that field and owe $140,000. So I had sunk in an additional amount of money to finish the degree. So in total, I graduated with $187,000 in student loans out of my first master's. What that leads me to next is it allows me to have the information up here. And now that I had the information, I can go apply it to be successful in the industry. So again, I received an opportunity in a company where I worked as an engineer. And once getting that opportunity, I realized that I was so far behind. Not even just from an engineering perspective, when you're an engineer and you want to be good at a particular craft, but I was also behind financially in life, right? So most people, you know, they come out owing very little in student loans if they're smart enough, right? And, you know, they're able to get to the start line and do other things with your life. But when you owe that much in student loans, you're so behind. It's not even funny. So once I realized that I was really far behind, I immediately got to work. One of the things that I ended up doing was I ended up working 3-4 jobs on top of the regular job that I had of being an engineer. And I worked so long and so hard that I was able to overcome this massive amount of student loans. By the time I was done paying it, when you factor in the interest and everything that went into it, right? So I graduated with 187, and that's when I started. And then it ballooned to about 225, where, you know, we started paying it off completely. And we did that in 5 years. Now, keep in mind, during that time, too, I also pursued a second master's. So not only was I working 3 to 4 jobs at a time, but I was also working on a second master's and paying off all these student loans, to go with it. And it's quite interesting because today now we live a debt-free life, and we have no bills, which is awesome. And I share this story with you, and I share a lot of the mistakes that I did. I do that because that's the purpose of this channel. So this channel was obviously created so that way I can teach people about engineering, technology, and finance. And I do that with all the years of experience and all the troubles and the heartaches that I went through, right? And I pass that knowledge on to you because what I want to do is I want you to springboard and use me as your blueprint to figure out what to avoid, what things to do, because there's a lot of traps out here from a life perspective. The purpose is to make sure you are successful and you don't fall into the same traps as I did. Now remember, if this video provides value and you love what this channel is all about, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video and also share it with somebody in case they want to know it is possible. You don't have to stay in student loan debt. You don't have to live your life where you're subjected to what you have to do instead of what you want to do. You're looking at somebody who went massive amounts of student loan debt and was still able to climb out and be successful. We're going to be sharing all the knowledge that I have because my goal is for you guys to be very successful.